I have a lot of questions. Thanks for doing this.
No, my pleasure.
Probably the biggest announcement of your career, eh?
Yeah, it'd be right up there. I think it was the one I thought about the most, for sure, and gave the most deliberation to, and consulted with some people on how to do it and when to do it and why to do it. Definitely the most thought.
Yeah. You know what's fascinating to me is you go through your whole career and you're just going through the motions, and a season comes and a season comes, and then it feels, at least from my perspective, that it just stops. Did it feel that way to you, and when did you start considering the fact that the end might be coming?
You know, I gave serious consideration probably at the end of the last season.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that was the feelings and the thoughts were definitely becoming more consistent and more constant, throughout the last summer. And then I was hoping that when I got back into the season, I get that energy and want to maybe get something that's going to make me want to go 4 more years. And it never really came, and if anything, it started to shift me from 95% to 100%. And as the season went on, it became harder for me to have these feelings and emotions and not being able to share them with people. And because I was hopeful that I'd get away from it and want to continue to go. But throughout the summer, I talked more and more about it with my wife, and eventually it got to the point where my teammates started to ask questions about what the future was going to look like. And I knew at that point when they started to ask those questions, I probably had to face it front on. And, I started to do that towards the end of August and early into September.
Did you wonder what it was going to feel like to have to confront that question? And did it feel like how you imagined it might feel?
You know what? I wondered what it was going to be like. I had no idea what it was going to be like because
Sure.
I hadn't experienced it before. But certainly it was much more emotional process than I thought it would be. I thought there would be almost some excitement to be done and to move on to the next chapter. But there's certainly a level of sadness and disappointment that it's all ending. But there's also excitement about the future. And certainly I know the situation I'm in. I'm not getting younger. I'm not necessarily going to get better at 45 years old. Like, I've come to that understanding. And at this point, it's just play out this season, play it as well as we can. Hopefully pull off something great. I know we still have the skill and the talent, and I still have the drive when I'm out there, in those big events to compete. What I struggled with last year was some of the other events and some of the other stuff around curling. When I got to the Brier, I wanted to win the Brier. So I know that passion, that excitement, that intensity is going to be there when we get to the Olympic trials and when we play in the Brier in St. John's.
I know you well enough to know you're rational and pragmatic, and I imagine maybe you created pros and cons, or I don't know what the process looks like, Brad, but maybe you did. What were some of the priority things when you were making this decision that you took into account?
Yeah, certainly family was number one.
Yeah.
I get more and more disappointed and upset when I miss something at home that I'd love to be home for. And, curling at this level or doing anything at an elite level at times can be selfish, or at least it feels selfish, where, you have to make sure you get your training in, you have to go to events, you have to leave, during milestones or big events at home. And, I'm kind of tired of that.
Yeah.
I want to be there with my kids more. I want to be there, during their curling careers, during, their life events, which I've missed a lot, more than I'd like. And that was the biggest pull. I think, second to that was the fact that, my body isn't performing the way that it used to 20 years ago. And it takes me 25 minutes to 30 minutes just to get out on the ice to go practice. And, I watch some of our competitors and some people around me that can jump right into the hack and go. And I can't do that anymore.
Is that frustrating for you?
It is very frustrating.
Yeah.
And all the treatment, and we have a great team like Kate and some of the people around our team are absolutely incredible and have become really close friends. But lying on a table in pain to try and get ready for the next game, all that stuff becomes tiresome as you do it more and more.
I've seen tape of you as a teenager. I think CBC was in your house. There's some really great tape about you visualizing, listening to tapes, creating a list, Brad, of all the things you wanted to accomplish. And few athletes get to say they've done that.
Yeah.
You get to say that.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing when I look back on this and when we started to think about putting out a statement and writing something. That was a big part of it because I have been very lucky, and not many people get to achieve everything that they set out to do when they're 18, 19 years old. And, I took the time when I was 18, 19, where I created a Bristol board with with 10 goals. And I was able to check those things off, plus many more, which, if you ask an 18, 19-year-old at this time, like, they'd be thrilled to have that happen.
Sure.
And, when you go through that journey, you don't appreciate it as much. But when you get to the end and you start looking back and you're like, man, I'm pretty lucky to have achieved that and had the people around me that, enabled me to do that. And, that's where some of the appreciation and certainly the emotion started to come out, because it's not just emotion that you're stepping away from it. It's the emotion of everything everybody else around you put into you to help you get that, which is pretty special.
You have been visionary in this sport. I think you have to be a little audacious to write down the lofty goals you had. Where do you think your conviction in wanting to accomplish all these things and live up to that came from?
I think, just the way I was growing up. My parents never said no to anything that I wanted to do and wanted to achieve. And, I've always tried to seek out people that are smarter than me. And I remember back then, someone said to me, write your goals down. Like, that's going to help you achieve them, give you a greater percentage or chance of achieving them. And I was like, okay, well, if that's going to
easy
happen,
enough.
I'm going to write it down.
Right.
And I'm going to see that thing every morning when I get up and I look at it, and it's going to drive me to go to the gym. It's going to drive me to go to practice. Not that I needed that much drive at that point in my career, but it also kept it forefront in my mind. And really, I lived the last 25 years of my life where, those goals and those things were forefront in my mind. And even when you sit down to eat, you think, is this the right thing for me to eat to help me achieve those goals? If me staying up late, is this going to help me achieve my goals? Like, that's the way my mind worked.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to be that way anymore, to be honest. I want to live in the moment. I wanted to enjoy my family and be away from that. And I found, certainly over the last year and a half, I started to get away from that.
Do you feel like you could have half and half? Like, could you have pulled back the intensity, or is that just not who you are?
Maybe I could have, but it's just not who I am.
Yeah.
Like, I've always felt like if I pull back the intensity on that, then I wasn't given 100%, because it was within me to do, and I felt like if I did it, I could achieve great things. And fortunately, I have. Hindsight, maybe I could have, but it was certainly for me. I always felt like I had to do more than other people to be successful, and that's what I always tried to do. If someone wasn't going to practice on Christmas Day, I'd go practice Christmas Day. Like, I just felt like it was a leg up for me on everybody else.
You have done so much, Brad. The accomplishments are just eye-popping. As you did this trip down memory lane, all the gold medals, all the championships are great, but what are some of the other things that stood out to you when you reflected on everything you've done?
Yeah, just really cool moments, whether it was on the ice and winning a big championship or just off the ice. Some people have asked me about the greatest moments that I had. And I actually remember, after you win the championship, sometimes it's just coming into the locker room and it's just the four of us and maybe our support team, maybe a few family members. It's just those moments where you can embrace and there's nobody watching. You're there and you can really celebrate, what you just achieved and what you went through. Like, those are the cool moments. Like, I remember one moment after a Brier where I was in the locker room by myself because all the guys had gone in and left and started the party. But I was doing media and all the other stuff, and I was the last one in there. And I just remember kind of sitting there, and I put a towel over my head and put my elbows on my knees, and I was there for 10 minutes. Wow. And it was just a really cool internal moment for me to realize, okay, that was pretty amazing what we just pulled off. And it wasn't even about the celebration. It wasn't about, the crowd cheering us on. It was just that internal satisfaction of what we achieved. And then beyond that, we've been to some really cool places and met really interesting people, and a lot of the really nice relationships I have in my life come from around curling. So there's so many ways that I've been blessed with this game, and I really want to take the time this year to be grateful and appreciative for the people that have created those moments for me. And it's going to be a little bit different approach for me this year, because I'm not going to be that driven, the kind of mentality that I had in my 20s. It is going to be about taking moments to thank people that have helped me along the journey and just show the appreciation, certainly to the fans. I think, they've been pretty amazing to us over the last 15, 20 years. And, I want to take the time with them and show how much we appreciate it.
I get goosebumps, and I wrote a story in the wake of your announcement about how the timing couldn't seem more perfect. You're going back to Halifax, where you shot to superstardom in 2005.
Life changed.
Life changed.
Yeah.
The Olympics in Italy.
Yeah.
And then a Brier at home. How much did all of that factor into now?
Yeah, it certainly played a factor for sure.
Yeah.
Like when the schedule came out and we got word of it, probably a year or so ago, when the thoughts came into my mind, it was like, okay, there's a message in this maybe.
Right.
I'm not one for looking at things like that, but certainly it was, if there is one, that was kind of it. It was going to be, to me, it was going to be nice to finish up in Halifax at the trials and then St. John's at the Brier. But, I would have to go pretty far down the list on things that led me to this decision.
Sure.
Like, was it a consideration? Absolutely. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. But it would be down the list. Like, it was really family. My teammates, the timing of the decision obviously was more the teammates. But certainly this decision was a me decision. It was a family decision that really led me to make the announcement.
Can we revel in 2017 St. John's Brier for a second?
Yeah.
Just because for me, it's top 5 in my career, Brad.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it would be like to live it, win it, and achieve finally what you've wanted to achieve at home.
Yeah, it was an amazing week, and it was such high pressure, such high emotion. I've said many times that it was great to go through, but I didn't want to do it again because it was so intense. And here we are now, going to be 9 years later, and I'm going to be going through this with the announcement that we just made on top of it. So, there's going to be a lot of discussion over the next couple months on how we can handle that situation and handle the emotion that I'm going to face, and also my team. There's no doubt they're going to face some, and certainly our supporters and our support team. There's going to be a lot of emotion that week. You add that onto the pressure that we're going to internally feel. It's going to be a heavy week, but I think right now the intention is just to enjoy it and embrace it. If we don't win a game at the Brier, I think it's still going to be an amazing week. I think the way our fans and our province and our city has embraced me and our team has been really special. And I don't think that's going to change if we have a bad week. So that's going to ease some of the pressure.
Right.
Because when we played in 2017, we hadn't won a Brier.
Yeah.
And went in there with that monkey on our back, and that monkey's long gone.
Long gone.
Yeah.
6 times
Yeah,
gone,
yeah.
Brad, which is remarkable. You always want to win. I know that about you, one of the fierce competitors in all of sport that I cover. You have talked about playing with house money at this point of your career, where you say the monkey's off your back, and I think it's allowed you to be freer and has allowed you to be really successful. Yet, an announcement like this, I feel, changes the energy around how you might approach all of these things. Or does it?
Well, I don't know if it's going to change it too much. I think part of the reason I came to this decision is I was playing with house money.
Right.
Like, there was nothing that, from a curling resume standpoint or a fulfillment standpoint, that I feel I can gain from curling at this point.
Right.
So that was kind of what led me to this decision. So it's not so much about how my mentality is going to change. I think really, I want to share with as many people, my gratitude and appreciation for what they've done this year. I think what it's going to allow me to do is probably at the trials and certainly at the Brier, I think my intensity is going to ramp up. Because
Sure.
I know it's going to be the last one. I know people are going to be behind us. So I'm not concerned about that. I think, I'm going to face challenges throughout some of the other events throughout the year. And we've kind of had the mindset of, let's make sure that those events are going to at least lead us to performing better at the trial. So if we can get a little bit better at an event like this, or an event in a couple weeks' time, that's a positive thing. It's not about winning anymore or gaining points.
Right.
It's about, okay, can we be ready for Halifax? Can we be ready for St. John's? So there's a little bit different mentality that we have this year, and I think a lot of that came from the announcement, and our team has done a really good job talking about it and what our mindset is going to be. And just on that, I can't say enough about how kind and empathetic my teammates were when I told them, and how good they made me feel when I shared the news with them. It wasn't about what was going to happen in their future. They just really were concerned about how I was doing now, but also how I was doing over the last year, kind of coming to this decision and dealing with it alone. It was a really nice moment. I certainly I thank them for how nice they were and how it went. Like, I had no idea how it was going to
Wow.
go. And I certainly didn't think it was going to go bad.
Yeah.
But I had no idea what the reaction was going to be like. But I couldn't have asked for it to go any better.
Not to get too deep or too heavy or too emotional, but when I hear you say that you were having these feelings about maybe not having that same spark you've had for so long, was there a level of sadness or what is going on with me?
Yeah, no, there was. There was frustration, and it's really kind of creeped in over time. Like,
Sure.
I think, certainly post pandemic or post, curling bubble generation, which hopefully would go back to.
Yeah.
But post that, certainly, some of the other events I really struggled getting up for. And, I knew at that point, that was a sign. But then as we got into, your second level events, and I wasn't getting up for them, and really it was just the Brier that was kind of motivating me, and obviously the trials will as well. That's when I kind of knew that it was coming. But there's definitely a bit of sadness, a bit of disappointment. It's been a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
And, I think some of the moments you have with your teammates and some of the big wins, some of the big losses, like, emotions are what really drives our lives. And sometimes when you have those hard losses, you remember those too, and you remember those moments around that. And,
Yeah.
I don't want to take those away because it really creates some memories after them and has driven some of the success that I've had as well. So, there's a lot of things that you can look on that I'm going to miss. But at this point now, it's just all the things that I'm going to miss and the things that I'm not going to miss are it's starting to outweigh.
Tipping.
It's
Yeah.
starting to tip, and I just think that naturally happens after 27 years of being out on tour.
Oh, and practicing and throwing on Christmas when nobody else is.
Yeah.
Let me be cheeky. Is there anything that would keep you around? Because people have already said to me, Brad wins the Brier, he has to come back.
Yeah, no.
Really?
No, and I wouldn't have made the decision. I wouldn't have announced it now if there was something that was going to be drawing me back. Because really, for the last year and a bit, I've been looking for that. I've been searching for that thing that was going to drive me and want to make me go 4 more years. And just the nature of our game, you have to commit to 4 more years. Like, our game right now goes in Olympic cycles, and you're not going to get a strong team if you don't commit to 4 more years. So,
Right.
It's not that I could just go year to year. It was like, can I do this for 4 more years? And that's where the decision really came in. But, if we're fortunate enough to win every event this year, it's not going to change my decision.
Wow.
I'll walk out and walk out on a pretty good high if that happens. But yeah, no, at the end of the season, it's going to be done.
To that point, the highest of the high to go out, of course, would be a Brier, but before all of that, the Olympics.
Yep.
Back in Italy, where your golden moment arrived in 2006. It feels storybook, it feels universal.
Yeah.
And it would be pretty incredible for your family to be there as well. What would it mean, Brad, to get one last chance to represent the country you've represented for so long?
It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
It really would, and I certainly have an insanely strong drive to get back there. But I also know that at the end of the day, it's not going to change my life one way or the other. And coming to that realization has been nice for me. But it's kind of what led me to this decision. Like, win or lose, it's not going to change what people think of me. It's not going to change what people think of what we've been able to achieve. The only thing it's going to gain me, and this is a selfish thing, is an opportunity for my kids to come see me play at the Olympics. And
Nice.
And I've said that ever since 2006, like when we started having kids, that I would love for them to be at an Olympics and watch their dad play. And that drove me for a long time. And obviously in 2022, I was hopeful that would happen. External factors didn't allow that to happen. But they certainly got to see it on TV. But to actually go there, see an opening ceremonies, see the actual event, go to the closing ceremonies, like have that experience.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that for them. It
Nice.
would be more about them than it is me, even at this point.
Wow. Winding down, for so many Canadians, you are curling, Brad. It's how they know the game, through you.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
It's pretty awesome that we got to that level. I certainly carry that with a lot of responsibility and in representing myself, my team, the sport in a proper way. I'm aware of that. We have a lot of people reach out on our social networks, which is, they're pretty big. And, we definitely hear that. We see it, we feel it wherever we go. And, there's a lot of responsibility in that. And I think one thing that I can say is our team has done a very good job of carrying a bit of that burden over the last 7 or 8 years, being the most high-profile team in the sport. And that's something I'm really proud of, and just as proud of all of the success that we've had, because there'd be a lot of opportunities for us to maybe not handle it the right way, maybe to take advantage of it, or to not be, good people. And over the last 8 years, we've had incredible people on our team, and people that have handled themselves at a very high level. And I think that's something that I'm proud to be part of, and proud to surround myself with people like that.
It felt like, in a way, you were going to just curl forever. It did, and now a lot of people are sad about this. What do you say to them, Brad? Because there are people scooping up tickets to the slams. Wherever you're going to be, they want to be there to watch you, but a lot of people won't get that opportunity. Yeah. What do you say to all of them?
Well, anybody that's supported us over the last 25, 30 years of my career, I want to say thank you, and I want to say how appreciative I am for the support, and certainly, there's this selfish pride that when you go into an event and you hear the loudest roars, like it makes you feel good. It really does. And it's not why I play the game. It's not what drives me to play the game. But it certainly, it makes you feel good. And we appreciate it. We're thankful for it. And anybody that's been out to watch us or support us in the last 20 years, I want to say thank you so much. I'm not sure how to express more gratitude than say thank you. And for the people that are going to get an opportunity to come out and see us, I'm going to do my best to come up and sign more autographs than I sign. I know I sign more than anybody else and spend more time than anybody else, but my intention this year is to not leave anybody without something signed or a picture until they kick me off the ice, which happens at time to time. But I want to enjoy it. I want to embrace it. It doesn't last forever, and certainly, I want them to know that I laid my heart and soul out there, and that while this decision is going to be disappointing for some people and fans of our team that they're not going to get to see us, certainly I hope that they understand why I'm making the decision, and that it's the best for me, best for my family, and to be honest, I don't have much more to give.
Last one, I have been careful not to ask you this one over the last number of years, but now that we are getting to the end, legacy. What do you think your legacy is, and what have you wanted it to be?
That's something as an athlete I have no control over, what people think and what's going to be the lasting memory of our team. I think we've always tried to conduct ourselves in a very, professional manner. We've tried to share as much of our time with our supporters as we can, and that's something I'm very proud of, that, when we made that decision and we've executed that for really the last 15, 20 years. And, if that can lead into the next generation of the game, I think that's important, because that's it's a big part. When you watch someone and you watch a team and you support them, you want to see that they're engaged with you and they're just not, taking your ticket money and going on. So, as far as what happened on the ice, again, people are going to make their judgments. I'm certainly proud of what our team has achieved. And could we have done more? Maybe. Could we have done less? We got a lot of breaks to go our way too. Like it is what it is. And I hope that is just not the on-ice stuff. I really think it's how we handled ourselves, how we treated people around our team, I think is some of the things that I want to be remembered for. And ultimately, I want to be remembered as a good dad, a good father, all that stuff, which nobody else sees other than my family, and certainly I hope that they feel that way. I'm not sure how it's gonna turn out, but hopefully it turns out pretty good.
Brad, I'm thrilled for you. It's such a weighty decision, and to hear you be so clear about it, and for it to be rooted in family, I'm just really happy for you.
Yeah, the funny thing was, throughout this summer, I had an opportunity, and it just seemed to line up. I got some opportunities to go to different events where there were some former pro athletes or bigger name athletes, and not all of them were curling fans. So I could have an engaged conversation with them and share some of my thoughts that I was having. And just about all of them had expressed to me that, Brad, when you know, you know. And, I'm at the point where I know. And that's why, some people have questioned the timing of this, but, if I know, I didn't want to not share with people. And it's a burden that I felt that I've been carrying for a long time. And, also for the betterment of my team, getting it out there, and then hopefully addressing it and then moving on and focusing on the trials in the Brier was really the intention. But, back to the story, like I know, and I'm 100% confident in the decision. I'm happy with the decision, and hopefully people understand that.
One last dance.
Yep.
Away
absolutely.
we go. I appreciate you, Brad.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.